Okay, few more seconds. Are we live? Looks like YouTube is live. So we are creating this drawing, and I have to say, this event that happens, it's just perfect, at perfect time, because we have yes, at perfect time, because we have, first of all, do you know what a singles day is? Singles day is 11/11. Singles, like unos, ones, sticks. So what happens on 11/11? There is a big sale in China. In Estonia we have something like esmaspäev. I don't know how you say it. Esmaspäev, esmaspäev. I don't know. But it's like, whoa, big discounts. But I looked at them on the phone, and I don't know. I'd say the Estonians don't really know how to make any discounts. Like, when it's like big discounts, then the all Estonian shops are selling all the things they couldn't sell with a little bit lower, with pretty much the same price. Like, but in like when we talk about Black Friday and AliExpress, so what happens on the Singles Day? Let's talk about last year they had Singles Day sales. What do you think, how many sales did they have? So 20 billion. Can you imagine that number, billion? What's Estonian GDP? Estonia GDP. Oh, so they had almost as much sales in one day as Estonia had GDP. So all Estonian companies together for a year, for 365 days, versus some web page in China, AliExpress, having 20 billions. So what happens to, remember we had our rectangles, we had a rectangle driven design, we had some database, so we had some backend. This is the simplification, right? So what happens during first of all, how are they even structured, these backends and front ends? So there is there are multiple backends, and there are probably multiple front ends, and the backends, there are probably different APIs. So there is also like some other backend. So like different API, so API 2, but backend is sort of like API 1. And these are, most likely these are Docker containers. So database. These are usually known as clusters. Like if you put multiple applications together, they call it a cluster. And so you have 4 applications running, let's say 6 applications running. How do you decide from which front end the traffic comes to which back end? Have you heard this term known as LB? What could LB stand for? Much you usually know these things. LB. Load balancer. So this load balancer is well, that Apache is a load balancer. So or Nginx, sorry, Nginx. I mean Apache is also a load balancer, but you have like Nginx, and which balances which of these which of these applications gets the load. So let's say one of the users is buying a million things and the other one is buying just a single pen from China. So if you're buying a single pen, that's a much quicker process than, because I mean, just buying a pen is just the tip of the iceberg, right? You have to pay. That's one thing to do. After you click buy button, right? You have to pay. Then someone has to send it to warehouse in China. They have to send it away. It has to be added to the system, so you have the tracking number, etc. And if you're buying for $1 million, you're buying a million different things. You're buying some shoes. You're buying a watch. You're buying some napkins. Of course, you're buying some tech. You're buying some power banks and some cables. So you're buying a lot of stuff. And then it has to do like different things, the same but just in bigger quantity. So this is how load balancers usually then. Well, it depends how it is. In our drawing, I think load balancer would be in front of these, in front of all of these applications. So these are all separate clusters, let's say. So this is a one cluster and this is a different cluster. And well, that also brings us to why do we split our backend? So you have only one backend, but let's say from that backend you need one service. So what could you have a shop, and one service of that application is requested very often. So at some point it would make sense to split it up from your main application, and this is how you embrace the microservices architecture. So you would split your web service up into pieces. In our case, it's backend and API 2, and then the API 2 would get, in our case, that would get higher load. So that's why you had split it. If you kept it inside your original backend, then it just, you're adding resource to your behemoth, so big mammoth, and it just doesn't make sense because it's mostly unused. But just one service is using more. Now what we have during this Singles Day, okay, let me tell you one thing more. Nowadays these are most often Docker containers, and they are managed by a so Docker is what? A whale, so it's managed by Kubernetes. And that's like a ship captain sail. So it's a container orchestration system, and that would basically that would enable you to automatically add loads and reduce loads. So if you have, let's say it is 2 weeks before Singles Day, then you would have something like this, because the traffic is low, there's not much to do. But then suddenly the traffic is coming, then it just adds parallel resources, and the load is handled, problems are solved. So yeah, that's what happens on Singles Day. Let's add like Singles Day. Let's go bold. Do you have any questions or comments about the Singles Day? Like it's gonna be on Wednesday. I'm not affiliated with any store. I just wanted to show you on the backend side what happens on a typical day like that. Okay, let's continue now with part 3. And how I want to describe part 3 is, so that's the culmination. So part 3 is the culmination of this subject. It ends here. We have nothing more after part 3. That's the last part. Deadlines, the early bird is in this year, and the other deadlines are for session, around the time of session. I would like you to come and defend. Of course, with Corona, you don't know what happens. Maybe we will consider digital defenses, but ideally I would like to see you in person. Okay, so what's the part 3 about? In the lesson, in the next lesson and in the other lesson, we're gonna add Spring Security to our project. And Spring Security is a difficult thing to add and to understand, but once you have it working, it's just working. It's one of those things that in your project someone has done it, and then it's just propagated and continued by other people. But we will try to understand it. We will try to have multiple paths on how to do it. And then the other overarching theme of part 3 is that the project is finalized. So everything that you have developed works well and bugs free. So that's the other thing, that everything works without errors. Maybe in let's scroll a bit and go over the details. This Excel sheet contains what is known as OR section, where the max points count for some, so you can pick different paths current here. And there are 3 different ways you can access the web page with a login or registration. All of the web pages must have some sort of login. And authentication stands for login. We will also talk about what is authentication and what is authorization. So there must be some sort of authentication. So that's logging. There is the first login and register is about the forms, and the second login and register is about the authentication that's used on the backend. Authorization stands for different roles. So we want to have our application. We want our application to have different roles. We want to have 3 roles. We want to have a guest role. A guest means just that the user is not logged in. So, for example, home page is a typical not logged in page. Then there is a user role and an admin role. So admin role is easier to explain. That's something that the regular user should not access. So you have you have a menu service, so you manage the menu, and the regular user would then order from the menu. Let's say that could be an example. And as an extra you can add a different role, like a moderator, or it all depends on the business logic. So for project management we have the project management, we have been updating that for all 3 parts. We want to see, the main thing we want to see is a list of user stories we will grade. That's the main thing. It's also now a reason for disqualification, because we just it's so hard to grade if you just throw us a list of tasks which are not related to anything, which are like overlapping and stuff, and expect us to grade from there. That's why we want to have a clear list of 8 user stories. Some of the teams had already 8 user stories done for part 1. Some teams had less user stories. And here I noticed that registration and login do not count as user stories, as these would end up getting double graded. So these are user stories without registration and login. And here I would recommend you to review your user stories either with your mentor or with me, so we can, because we know all the other people's user stories. We've seen a lot of user stories. Also at work we see user stories. Some user stories which you've done are too big and could be split up. Some of your user stories are too small and could be summed up. Mostly it's okay, but sometimes basic, what I'm trying to tell here, that some teams could have gotten could have gotten more points by expressing their user stories differently, and some teams just dressed one story as like 10 different user stories, which also doesn't make sense. But together with the user stories, we want to see which stories are done and tasks linked to the story. We like the idea of tasks, although because there are different ways you can do the tasks, it's difficult for us to grade. So basically I'm just complaining how long did it take to grade part 1. That's why we would like to see. We still like the issues, because with issues it's very nice for you to split the work, but hard for us to grade. So if we just want to have user stories, and if you can link the tasks to the user stories, that would be even better. Then 2 smaller parts, business analysis and development story. I am going to add here an extra, which is like future, something about the future. I will do it. So the points are in a they're living, they're growing. So I will add this. I probably put user stories first. Okay, so that's for the project management. Setup. The GitLab CI is still working. GitLab CI will help us grade. So on the server, it's if it's the application is on the server, it means we don't have to run it locally and stuff like that. The theory, you probably know what type of theory it is. There will be some questions. I like part 2 theory more than part 1, because the questions are sort of more on the same topic. Let's see what we think about in part 3. And we also need to think whether maybe part 1 question 6 will make a return. I can tell you that part 3 defense will have API question for sure. You will need to create an API for every defense, and if you cannot create the API, then you will fail this subject. That's the only thing. Okay, business logic, again 8 issues. The focus here is to finalize things. And then there is typical backend, typical front, and basically the same as it was in part 1, with points a little bit reduced. However, there is this added notion that if the parts which were mentioned in if the problems that were mentioned in part 1 are not fixed, so if you are grading the same problem persists and you haven't done any effort in fixing those problems, then we just will charge negative. You force our hand, we have nothing to do. There will be a defense, as I said. The one question of defense will be API. If you fail it, you fail it. I might write it out here later. And there are some extras. I don't think there is anything noteworthy extra-wise. I will be thinking of some extras and adding them as we go along. Do you like this format when I am writing, when I update what? I think it makes it transparent. Yeah, well, yeah, it makes it more transparent. So yeah, I'm thinking of adding more extras. I will need to check now. The part 3 is in session. Deadline wise, I will add another deadline. So yeah, deadlines we can talk later. Let's review part 1. So let's take a 1 second, like 1 minute break, and then let's review part 1. So the goal is like, where are we now? So I have a backend here, and we can also look at some extras for part 1 and do them. So yeah, I'm gonna brief, and if you have questions, like show, and I will answer them. I'm staying here not far from the computer because YouTube recording for the voice to be, because the mic is on the computer. Yeah, I think part 3 is well, if you think what's easiest, what's hardest, the part 1 was the hardest because you didn't know anything, and you were just let's start doing things. Part 2 is different, although as you saw me do it 3 lessons, 4 lessons, short lessons, like cut in half, less than an hour for each topic, 4 or 5 hours. So that compared to the first part, which was probably 40 hours or more, 80 hours, the second part is much easier. Like, let's say points per hour. If you think points per hour, if you had like this return on hour investment, return on hour, ROH. And part 3 gives more points by but not by much, I think. Just 100 more points. Yeah, 100 more points. And that will yeah, part 3 is about finalizing, so important. The Spring Security, last year most of the teams sort of copied from the class code, because Spring Security examples will be like 10 different classes. Usually you go to Stack Overflow, you have like a problem like stream, how to find the earliest state, you copy paste. But with Spring Security all the examples are like 10 different classes, so that's why we're gonna have a deeper dive into it probably next lesson, because currently I want to review and I want to look at some interesting things which we can apply for the first part. Okay, I have recovered. Okay, I am on main branch, so I have my backend up. First things first. Where do I start? Well, let's start. Could say with some structure. So we have different folders. Remember, one theory question said about 3 layers. So 3 layers would be controllers, service, and repository. The model is connected to repository, and DTO is connected to the service. In our case, the exception is also like connected. Depends where you use the exception. It's connected with us. It's connected to the service. And then another thing that will grow is configuration. Configuration is where you put everything, you know, like Spring related stuff and some external configuration you might have. So controller is for telling what's going on. So you open the controller and you immediately get what's going on here. I think I wanna clean up it. So let's create a new branch, part to end. So this is how part 2 ended. So I'm gonna push it up and I'm gonna go back to main. I wanna just clean up this a little bit so I could get some points, you know, pass with a grade, get at least 3. Currently with this code, the test's not working. I mean, my future is very bleak. Like if I were to be graded by myself. Okay, so let's clean up this service. So I have some sort of hero banana here, like bananas. Why do I have bananas here? It's complete bananas that I have bananas here. Now IntelliJ highlights things, so this sort of doesn't make sense. It says local variable is redundant. That's in line. All these to-dos, you should complete the to-dos, right? Although in theory it's nice then you keep the to-dos alive, because I'm open. Let's open like here too. My IntelliJ highlights, it's nice and yellow. If you removed here like to-do, it gets into some gray. I don't know, just easier to read. I haven't seen anyone using white IntelliJ, so the dark side has one. Let's delete the hero banana, it's not used. So V1 controller also we don't need anymore. So index we could remove all this other stuff which we don't need, and we can just say that API is up. This is very typical thing I do. Some people use a health point for checking whether it's up. Interesting. Okay. So exceptions. Well, I would move it like this. I usually have this. I mean, it's okay to have exceptions and DTOs separate. There are like different types of package structures which are okay. The idea here is that again, you will be working with that code, and reading code compared to writing code, you read 10 times more than you write. Actually, that's optimistic. You read like 20 times 30 times, 100 times more than you write the code. So you have to go like back and forth. So looking really helps. So knowing where to find things really helps. Okay, so we have this application init. We have application YAML. Okay, do we have any other random stuff? Okay, so I have cleaned up the code. Let's enable Lombok. Lombok is a nice thing to use. So how to enable Lombok? Lombok Cradle opens project Lombok page, and here I have disk. Add Lombok. So just one is compile only and the other one is annotation processor. So annotation processor stands for the fact that you will have here I'm gonna add getter and setter. Seems my Gradle didn't get the change. So why are you doing this? Auto reload settings. Reload any changes. So what's the problem? Looks like I'm getting a nice lag from all the streaming services and other things I have running on. Okay, I'm getting something. Yes, Lombok setter, Lombok getter. You can also use add data at other fields, but here this getter and setter will give me the ability to remove these get and set from here. Okay, and I am gonna create no args constructor as well, so I can remove this one. IntelliJ. Okay, that was for equipment. Now let's do the same for hero. So a little bit, actually I'm just gonna copy these from here. So hero, boom. So the default constructor, we are doing some shenanigans here with the other constructors, so I guess that's fine then. Probably for test data. Okay, same in DTOs, right? Except I don't need no args constructor because looks like I don't have any logic here. Yeah, nice comment. And same here. Now my classes are shorter. Let's do add Lombok to controllers as well. So if I add here all args constructor, and then I can remove auto wired here private. I can also set it as final. Final means it cannot be changed after it's created. Okay, hero service, let's do the same thing. So all args constructor and remove it here. Okay, there was some to do here. Interesting, almost froze. Freezing would be pretty bad. I know I have Linux and it every now and then Linux does some funny things. Let's see here, we can also do it, yeah. All args constructor private final. I mean, final is not necessary, and if it doesn't work then you just keep the auto while, because sometimes you have a recursive need for some dependency, and wonder, am I running any maybe I'm running too many Chrome tabs. The Chrome is the killer, right? You never have enough RAM to never have enough memory to run Chrome browser. Okay, it has started. Let's look at localhost 8080 to see that it's working. So we have localhost 8080 and /API. API is up, and then we had heroes, and they're working, so that's nice. Let's commit that we have changed some things. Wow, we were busy. So what did we do? Clean up code, add Lombok. Okay, we added Lombok. Let's add logging as well. So logging was part of part 1, right? Although I remember one person wrote feedback, so positive side he wrote Java and 3 dots, and on the negative side he wrote Java and 3 dots and added Lombok. So it seems they are upset about Lombok, so for that person I am sorry. Of course there is a chance that he might have mistaken the sides. Maybe Lombok is a positive thing, but we don't know it now. Okay, so we have cleaned it up a bit. We want to do something interesting. We wanna first I wanna add logging, then I wanna fix my tests. Oh, I already have logging. That's boring. See, it's logging here. I could add like a logging file, but currently it's logging. Probably if it keeps running it would create the next day logging. Because default is like already a rolling file. But if I wanted to add, yeah, well, it's not interesting then. So Spring log back example. No, Spring logging example. Oh yeah, how to add a logger? Because why did I add a logger in the Lombok in the first place? So for example, we want to. Yeah, we don't know what would be the good place to log, right? Okay, I'm gonna add a service. Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna add strength to our heroes, and we're gonna start pumping strength. So I'm gonna add integer. Okay, not integer. Okay, let's add integer. It will be limited by the integer. So strength. And this strength later will show on front end as well, but let's do currently on the back end side. So we got strength. Let's start default is 0. So if you were using small ints, it would be by default 0, but with integer I'm using because I don't like the small ints in general, because they are by default 0 instead of null. But here we sort of want it to be 0. And we're gonna define a gym service, maybe like hero train service, hero training service. It can also be called as hero training without the service, and well, it's a service. And what we want to do is, let's say we have some method here. ToString, no, okay, no. So method public void train heroes. So we will have all args. All args constructor here. If anyone wants to present, show me with hands so I know. Looks like no. Next week then private heroes repository. Okay, let's keep the naming. So some of you are pulling data from external APIs, and I thought that we can do, like, instead of external API, like you pull it only once on start time, instead you could do it very often. So what we would like to do is to add scheduling. We could get all the heroes, find all, right, all the heroes. Nice little lag, and we would iterate the heroes, right? Hero set strength, hero get strength plus 10 plus, I don't know, math random get times what's your problems? Okay, so this is what? This is double, but I want it to be integer. Cast to int. Being tricky here. Random. Okay, next int instead. Okay, fine. This is sonarlint, I think. Next int. What was I supposed to do? Random next int. Next int. What's your non-static? Have to create like new random. Oh, I like my previous solution. So math random provides me from 0 to 1 I multiply it by 100. I put it inside an int, and this like increase, and I update the strength, and then I say hero repository save the hero. I can do it in a loop, I can do it and we can do, okay, let's do it like so, hero. So that's strength before, right? Strength before. Okay, so we add logging, and what do we log? We have log, let's log after saving, log info. Hero has hero, let's put a name to the hero. Increased strength from 2, so we can have here, so that's hero get name, so we know which hero, right? Otherwise, I mean, when you make log messages, you learn with time that. So strength before and strength after is hero get strength. Okay, and it might fail maybe. Well, in our case probably not. So you want to schedule this execution. You want to run it like every hour. So every hour our heroes get stronger. So like for example, one team was downloading currency rates. The currency rates change, so I don't know, every day you would like to download them. Every hour. So Spring schedule example, and Bildung. Maybe Bildung teaches more Java to you than I do. Very possible. So we need a Spring configuration, and that's just so we can call it anything, but let's call it like cache configuration. But that's not cache, scheduling. But in similar fashion you add cache. Scheduled config, scheduler. Basically you just need to add this annotation, enable scheduling, and this configuration just tells the Spring that in this class it will find configuration related things. Same with Swagger. We have configuration, then it says that here you will find some configuration related things. We could have put this enable scheduling on top of Swagger, but it would make someone's life harder. And that's sort of it. You just add this as scheduled. You have different options there. Fixed delay. There are options here. Okay, I can see the options. Fixed delay, fixed rate, initial delay. Let's have a little bit of a delay when you start it. So this is in milliseconds, right? I think these are in milliseconds. So 5. What you would usually use is you would use cron. You would use cron. For cron you would do a little googling. So the cron stands for this cron expression. So seconds, minutes, hours, days, months, something like that. So it's a cron expression, and time zone is optional. I recommend you set it to Europe, Tallinn. Then your cron would match what you expect it to be. But for our example, we want to just something is red, but nothing is red. Just in our example, we want to see what would happen. And after this, I would like to add a database query, like hardcore SQL. Oh, people are training. Look at that, they are growing. I wonder who is ahead. You know how we know who is ahead? We can return our heroes ordered by strength. So where is that? We should have strength here. We don't. Why don't we have? We don't have because our hero, we have a DTO there. So okay, I'm gonna stop it for a second. My as I am streaming, my computer is currently being challenged. It's getting a bit warm, but nice winter, right? Yeah. Also, one feedback was that I shouldn't make jokes because the person then thinks about the jokes and can't focus on the actual code. So I am sorry for each time I make a joke, then somebody loses focus. We can save heroes also later in a, like we don't have to like save it in a loop. I mean, would this work? Because it's the same list, right? And then save all. But probably faster. Yeah, we weren't showing strength in the front end because we didn't have strength on our DTO. So let's add here integer strength. Strength is one of those words you need to know English for to type. It's did I have it spelled wrong? It's with TH. It's difficult. I'm just trying to prove that I, contrary to some feedback, that I don't know English and I should learn it. I know some things. Okay, we had some converter here. Okay, that's it probably. No, that's not it. Here. Get strength. Use tab, then it goes right there. So enter tab. Nice. It's nice. Little order. Okay, we run it. Okay, where are we? Yes, that's the correct page. So it should start training. Should be zeros or yeah, okay. Yeah, Superman is stronger than Batman. Yeah. So they're changing. That's nice. So yeah, got them showing. Let's stop it. Let's save it, and let's now order them by strength. That will be fun. Add strength service to here. I wonder what's the biggest integer. Now, if you'll have a bug, we'll have a bug at live server. Okay, we want to query them, so we have heroes controller where everything starts, so it's find all, and we can just write here that we want to find all by order. Where is my support help? Well, that is sad. Find heroes by order. It helps me, but I guess I have to go with find all by order by strength descending. Maybe. Not sure it works, might fail right now. Remember, it had this quirk that we have by order by. Okay. Well, it seems like it's working, otherwise it would give me an error startup. So currently no strength. Spider-Man, look, it's Spider-Man takes the early lead. Oh, Superman coming next. It's like the elections in America, except no one's counting. Superman, oh, Superman passed Spider-Man. What a thrilling chase. So that's how you could create a query now. That's not SQL, that's Spring Magic. Let's write some actual SQL. So how would we write some SQL based on heroes? You would do it in the following fashion. You would create an interface, heroes custom repository, and well, let's say we want to make it more complicated. We want to have like different order here. How do we have? We want to have like, I mean, some teams had like different sorts, and then they would. Okay, there are some teams did two different types of things. So first was team that had like, first of all, the wrong way to do is like they had different methods here. That's like with different request parameters or different path variables. So that's bad habit we are trying to get rid of. So instead you could put everything here. So we have one request param, its name. The other one could be order. And we could have direction. So default order could be So this is to search. Wait, direction here as well. So this is to search. So we can call it query. I like query. Maybe we want to search over multiple fields. We currently have one, but and direction actually could be. I think Spring has sort like an enum. Direction. And maybe this sort dot direction. And here default value could be. It usually is ascending, I think. Okay. And then we would pass them all here. And now it will take us to second alternative. So string direction. And the second alternative also divides into two alternatives. All would start with heroes. So there were two alternatives. One was that you would select all and then you would have filter, and you would say like, I don't know, let's say here hero. So A is like element, let's say it's just hero, and then you will have name, and name contains this whatever you were searching for. So you would have something like this, or you would have like the ifs here, and you would have different find all methods. All of these can be made simpler. We could create here a method like for everything. So I just created that custom repository. So heroes custom repository. And let's create an implementation. So heroes custom repository impl. And here we would have at persistence context which is entity manager, and this is a repository or some sort of a bean. All this repository Spring REST controller in the end are just different markers for component. So everything is a component. And we want to implement that repository. Okay, the IntelliJ should. I don't have any method there. So every method on interface is public. So list heroes, hero, find all, and we had query, so string query string order and string sort direction. We had the direction. We just defined this method. We see that there is a problem. The repository doesn't have anything. I implemented it, and now we just need to create the entity manager. You have two options. You have either create query, which is HQL, which is Hibernate query language, which is your entities, or native query, which is good old-fashioned SQL. Select star from I think table name is hero. You add an entity here, result set, so hero.class, and get the result list. Let's format it a bit better, so put this here. I also like to have query on a separate line. Now we are not using this currently. Let's add it to the service. So let's test. I'm gonna write magic method. So if 1 equals 1, then we are gonna write. We're gonna use our method. I will write a refactoring. So query order direction. Okay, I need to convert. Okay, I need to do this as well. And with a stream. Okay, we are almost done with this, and then we can look at other things. So I added a breakpoint there. You will see why in a second. Okay, so we are in the breakpoint. Let's see if this works. I can click here evaluate, and it works. So now we have order ID, right? So we can do. So who is our first hero? Batman. We can do order by ID descending. Now would give me Hulk. Typical would be ascending, right? I can also order by strength, and the first one is Spider-Man with 16 strength. Well, this is ascending, we want strength to be descending, right? So Captain Marvel, new names, is strong. And we don't have any query. So then we would build our SQL here. So let's say, this is our SQL. So clean up a bit. So let's do if query if string utils is not blank. Query. So if query is not blank, then we're gonna add here like a new line at the end, or just a white space. Then we must add actually I'm gonna do this with a trick, so I'm gonna show you like very often you would have you would need to query by different where conditions, so you would have where 1 equals 1 and then you will write query so and name like so this is name so we add name here in between this oh no, let's do it because like the name, same with order, the order and direction, they go together. So if order is not blank, we had a default order, so if order is order by, if it equals ID, then let's write and order and order by ID, and now we need to add our direction plus direction name, and we will have a different order. So let's say else if order equals strength, then we can have, now why I'm not adding order directly into SQL, because it would enable to have SQL injection. So there are two ways: you either select that the order is in the allowed list, or you do it manually. Actually probably allowed list is better, so let's have private static list string allowed order list of, I cannot type at all, ID and strength. We can order them by name as well. Interesting. Okay, let's add name, and this should be like Java-esque style is like this, allowed order. And let's say, so if it's not blank and order, not allowed order, if allowed order contains our order, then well, direction should not be null because it's an enum. although maybe order by, oh I did too much. What's now format? Order by okay, I'm gonna replace this with string format. It's gonna be easier to understand. Order by, so order and direction name. Where's that? And direction is not null. And then we have to add only one last thing here, so that's the query. If again the same condition here is string, it's not blank, then you would add it to the parameter. So native query set parameter, the name of the parameter is the name we gave it here. Okay, I have some duplicate conditions. Highlights, probably wants me to merge. Then set parameter, so the name is the one, the name with colon name is how you pass the parameters. Name is name, and the result would be the query. And this is the result list. You would have to pay attention with SQL, you have to pay attention with the white spaces. I would add a new line at the end of the line, but I currently don't know how to do it. I'm not on I'm on laptop keyboard, so this could work. Let's try this. So we can order by ID, strength, name, and we have two directions. And let's see that all work, and then we can call it a day. So it is ordered by IDs currently. So I can, and name is man, should find me Batman, Superman, and everyone if one should not find Thor. So then we debug. Because it's not name, it's query, I changed it. Naughty query. Now we don't need breakpoint. So it added, as you see, it added the query to the parameter. Didn't find anything. That's because let's add these to the query. So depends how you want to search. You want to search with both ends inclusive, and let's do this magic that we will do will be case insensitive. So I'm gonna make this lowercase, and I am gonna say that this name is also lowercase. There was some cases where the man didn't work because the other man was with a big letter and this is with a small letter, and blah 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 blah. Real life problems. So band man returns me with Spider-Man, and we want to order, so and order is strength. Yes, order strength, but it is ascending. We want it to be descending, and order is descending. Direction. Bent bananas, because it's probably big caps, all caps. Because we are using this string enum, it has two values, ascending, descending as caps. So this is the other way. Beautiful, right? Everything works. So that means we can print it out as JSON, apparently. Well, let's see, let's clean up a bit. So we have this 1 equals 1, this is let's just return from here, format. So custom I actually wanted to look at front end as well, but it seems that we did more things this time, so without front end. We did increase the hero's strength, so now they're all strong. They can take on the world. Are there any questions about what I've been doing? Any questions about what we've been doing? You have anything? Okay, then I'm gonna stop my sophisticated streaming stuff, and I'll take questions. You have a